Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Code with Sunny, and in this video we will be talking about the problem score of parenthesis. Its index is 856 and it is the medium problem of the LeetCode. Okay, so you can see the number of likes is quite much. It means that this problem is really interesting one, and we are going to learn something new from this problem. Okay, if you look out my submissions, you can see I have already done this problem past 1 year ago, and the video may be present on my channel. I'm not sure about that because yeah, it should be present on the channel because at these times I was doing uploading every videos of the problems. So you can find the same video on my channel also, like I've already uploaded that one. But now I will discuss this problem again with some new concepts. So let's start. Given a balanced parenthesis string s, and we have to return the score of the string. Okay, so the parenthesis that will be given to us will be balanced, and it has some score, and we need to determine that score and what is the criteria on the basis of which we are going to assign the score of this parenthesis. Let's try to understand that. So you can see whenever we have an opening parenthesis followed by a closing parenthesis, then we have a score 1, and whenever we have two balanced parentheses placed over here like AB type, then we are going to add it. And the last case is like whenever we have a parenthesis and that is enclosed inside another parenthesis, then we are going to multiply it by the value 2, where a is the balanced parenthesis score. Okay, if you're not going to understand this, no need to worry about, we will discuss all those with the help of examples. For now, let's look over the constraints. So if string's length is, you can see max length of string is 50, and a string only consists of opening and closing parenthesis, and also a string is a balanced parenthesis. Note that if the string is not a balanced parenthesis, it is like we cannot compute the score of that string, because we need to know at each time the score of the inner parenthesis, and if at any time some parentheses become unbalanced, we are not able to compute that. Okay, so let's try to understand this with the help of example. So the problem says that whenever we have a parenthesis like this one, like this is the, let's say we have this string, then the score of this string is actually 1, because whenever we have an open parenthesis followed by closed parenthesis, we are going to say that score is 1. Okay, now consider this case like we have this parenthesis followed by this parenthesis. Okay, so we have a pair of balanced parentheses right over here, and again another balanced parenthesis right over here. The score of this is 1, the score of this is 1. Since these are placed at the same level, we are going to add it. So our answer is 2. This is the score of this parenthesis. So if you have been asked that what is the score of this parenthesis, okay, so you can see this is one of the parentheses, and it is exactly inside the other parenthesis, and it is a valid parenthesis and balanced also, right? So first you will determine the score of the inner parenthesis, which is actually 1, and it is like this one. And you can see there is a parenthesis outside this value 1. It means that we need to multiply the inner value by 2, so our score is 1 into 2, this one. Okay, so let's take one more example to understand this in detail. I will take the best one, which should be okay. Okay, so this is a balanced parenthesis and we need to find its score. Okay, so what we are going to do is we will observe that let's say we will write down the layer number, that is how much depth we are into it with respect to the base parenthesis. So this is actually the base parenthesis, and we need to determine how much depth we are into it. So it is at depth equal to 0. Note that this parenthesis is at depth equal to 0, and when we move inside, you can see there is again an open parenthesis, so we are at depth equal to 1, and at this position we are at depth equal to 2, right? And now when we found a closing parenthesis, you will see we need to compute that value, because this is a pair of balanced parentheses, so we need to know the value of this one. So what we will do is we will make a sequence of string as this one, 1. Now again, this is a balanced parenthesis. So you can see this parenthesis and this parenthesis are at same level. So you will add it the value over this position. Now you can see we have a closing parenthesis, closing parenthesis. So we have a closing, we have a closing. Again, we have this opening parenthesis and closing parenthesis being at same level. So you will add the value 1. Okay, so you need to know the value of this string, right? So let's try to compute that. So it is actually 2, this plus 1. Okay, so you can see we have a balanced parenthesis and inside which the value is 2. So we will multiply it by 2, it becomes 4. We have again a pair of parentheses inside which the value is 4 and it is 1. So you will say 4 into 2 plus 1, which is actually 9. So 9 is the valid score. So let's try to check it out with the console where I have also written the correct code. Okay, so yeah, also I need to tell you about this example also. This is actually interesting. So we need to check this one. So what I'm going to do is let us write 1 1 1. Again we have a closing one, opening closing, and again closing closing, opening closing. Okay, so let's try to check it out. What is the score of this parenthesis? Yes, you can see it is 9. So and yeah, it is the correct one. Okay, so the correct score of that parenthesis is 9. So how do we compute that value efficiently? Okay, so the very first way is to use a stack. So how this stack is going to help us to find out the efficient way, efficient solution. So what I am going to do is I am going to say that whenever we have this opening parenthesis, I will push up a -1 value into the stack. Note that this is because we need to maintain a stack of integers, and in this stack we sometimes we need to push up the score of the current parenthesis, which is an integer. Okay, so we need to also know the position of this opening parenthesis, so it will be denoted by -1, and rest of the integers which will be the score is a like non-negative integer, right? So we would be not getting into trouble when we deal with -1 and some non-negative values, right? Okay, so let's understand the sequence of the steps using a stack, how this is going to help us to find out the solution. Also we have an O of 1 space solution. I will tell that in the later part of this video. For now let's understand this. Okay, so initially you can see I have 3 minus ones that will be pushed into the stack because we have 3 open parentheses. So I will push up -1. Okay, so I will write -1, -1 and -1. So this is at the top of the stack. No, you need to remember about that. Okay, so you can see now we have a closing parenthesis, right? And yes, when we have a closing parenthesis, I need to look out for a opening parenthesis. Like every closing parenthesis should be balanced with a closing parenthesis and vice versa, because it is a balanced string, right? So whenever we have a closing parenthesis, I need to look out for a -1 in the stack. Okay, you can see -1 is present at the top of the stack, so I will just say that the score of this one is actually 1. So what I will do is I will pop out this element. So I will do like this one. This element is popped out and the score will be pushed. So score is 1, right? And again you can see I have this pair of parentheses, so I will push up -1 over here. Then you can see I have a closing parenthesis right over here. So when I have a closing parenthesis, I need to pick up a -1 over this position. So this will be picked out and the score will be pushed in, so it will be 1 again. Note that these two values will be added, but we will add it later. Okay, so also whenever we have a closing parenthesis right over here, okay, so it means that we need to find a -1 over here in the stack, latest -1. So you can see -1 is present over here, so I need to iterate and throw out this -1 from the stack. So while iterating we will add up all those values, right? So this values will become 2, and because of this closing parenthesis we need to multiply it by 2, so it becomes 4. So my new stack would look something like this. You can see -1 will be popped out and 4 will be pushed. and again we have this closing parenthesis, so we need to look out for a -1 in the stack that is going to denote a opening parenthesis. So you can see -1 is present over here, so we need to throw this -1 out and add all those values that is present in between. So it would become, my stack would become something like this, and this is the top of the stack. Okay, now again we have this -1 because of this opening parenthesis, so I will put out a -1 over here, and when we have a closing parenthesis I need to throw out this -1, and since there are none of the values present in between, we need to add up the score 1, so we will add this value. You can see 1. Now you can see sequence of steps has ended, so we need to add the values in this stack because all are at the same level, so my answer becomes 9, which is the correct answer. So this is the entire thing that we need to do with the stack. So you can see we are maintaining a stack, so it would take O of n space, and time complexity will be O of n because every element will be accessed twice at most, right? So this is O of n space and this is O of n time. Okay, so we have also a O of 1 space solution I will discuss in this video right now. So before moving on to that, we will discuss the solution that I have already submitted. So let's look out for that. Yeah, you can see I have a stack based solution. So what I have done is very much easy. So whenever you have an opening parenthesis, I need to push up a -1 that will denote we have an opening parenthesis maintained in the stack. And whenever we will encounter closing parenthesis, we will make the initialize some variable value is exactly a 0, and until we haven't found this -1 which we need, we will add up all those values lying over this in between this -1 and the current value. So after doing that, we need to pop out this -1 also, throw it out, because we have already a balanced string with that is going to balance this closing parenthesis, right? That is -1 will balance the current closing parenthesis, and -1 will denote an opening parenthesis. Okay, so if value is a non-negative number, like strictly positive, so I need to multiply it by 2, otherwise add the value 1, which is the current parenthesis code. Okay, while all the sequence of steps has ended, we need to add up all those values in the stack. Okay, and finally return the answer. So this will give you all test cases passed. Okay, so let's look out for another O of 1 space solution, how we are going to do that. Okay, now for considering an O of 1 space solution, let me consider this example. Okay, so the string is actually like this one. So we have an closing parenthesis, then we have 2 times opening parenthesis, then we have a closing parenthesis, and again opening, closing, and 2 times closing, right? Okay, so we can consider this string as a root of the tree, and all those you can see if you look out the problem statement, this has the score 1, and every this pair of parentheses followed like opening parenthesis followed by closing parenthesis will have the score 1, and this will be the leaf node of the tree. Leaf node of tree. Okay, note that how we are going to build up the tree. This is going to be important. Okay, so whenever we'll encounter you can see this parenthesis how I can say okay, yeah, so whenever we'll encounter this opening parenthesis, we will go to the next level, right? So the next level will look like, you can see this will be extracted, so we will have this one, and the rest of the part would be this one. Okay, so we will have the next child node as this, and we have a closing parenthesis, opening, closing, closing. Okay, because we are going to move to the next level, so we will assign its child nodes. Now you can see we have ended up to this position, and this is actually the leaf node. Okay, now you can see we still can have the child nodes of this one, so we will assign it like this one and like this one. Okay, now for every opening and closing parenthesis, we need to determine the score of this one, like what is the score of this closing and opening parenthesis being paired up consecutively. So we need to determine all the scores of this one. So you can see the score of the balanced parenthesis, like this one, as well as this one, will be determined by the level, like will be determined the depth up to which it is encountered with respect to the root node. Now if root node is at level 0, this will be at level 1 and this will be at level 2, right? So we need to add up the scores of all these parentheses. So you can see the score of this parenthesis is actually 2 raised to the power, what will be the value? Okay, so wait a minute, so let me just say the score of this parenthesis is actually 2 raised to the power 2, which is 4, and score of this parenthesis is also 2 raised to the power 2, which is 4, because 2 is at the level, 2 is the depth up to which it is present, and 1 is the depth up to which it is present, so 2 raised to the power 1. So the overall score is 2 raised to the power 1 plus 2 square plus 2 square. So it is actually, you can see the 10. So 10 will be the correct value. So let me run this code and check it out. Yes, 10 will be the correct value. So whenever you will encounter opening parenthesis, you need to increment the depth, and whenever you will encounter closing parenthesis, you need to decrement the depth. So let's look out the code and check it out how we can do that efficiently. So it is nothing but maintaining the depth of the tree. Okay, so what I am going to do is, like, whenever we will encounter a opening parenthesis, we will increment its level, and whenever we will encounter a closing parenthesis, we will decrement its level. And also whenever we will encounter a, you can see, a pair of parentheses opening and closing, we will just check it out, like we will increment the score of the current parenthesis, which will be 2 raised to the power level, and finally return the score. This will give you all test cases passed. So if you guys have still any doubts, you can reach out to us through the comment section of the video, and thank you for watching this video.